Howdy, I'll be your host for tonight's episode of Campfire History. That is at least until the fire burns out. Tonight, we will be covering the orphan trains of the Old West. Between 1854 and 1929, around 200,000 children were sent from eastern cities to homes across the Midwest and western United States on what became known as orphan trains. Most people hear orphan trains and think it was simple. Poor orphaned children were taken off the streets of New York and placed with good farm families out west. Many of these children were not actually orphans. Some had lost parents to disease like typhoid or yellow fever. Others had both parents still living. Many were the children of immigrants, widows, and poor families who could not afford to keep them. By 1850, New York City had between 10,000 and 30,000 homeless children living in the streets, in a city of only about 500,000 people. Some sold newspapers, matches, and rags. Some joined gangs because it was safer than being alone. In 1853, Charles Loring Brace founded the Children's Aid Society after seeing how many children were living in the streets. Brace believed children should be removed from city poverty and placed with rural Protestant farm families where they would be raised with work, religion, and discipline. Farm families also needed labor. The first large group left in 1854. 45 children were sent to Michigan. It was considered successful, so more trains followed. Later, the New York Foundling Hospital created its own mercy trains, placing mostly infants and toddlers into Catholic homes. Children were cleaned up, given new clothes, handed a Bible, and put on trains with adults they barely knew. Many did not understand where they were going. When they arrived, some towns already had families requesting children by age, gender, and appearance. In other places, children were taken into town halls or opera houses and placed on stage while adults walked by and inspected them. They checked teeth, looked at hands, asked them to stand straight, asked them to speak. One account said, people came along and prodded them and looked and felt and saw how many teeth they had. Another newspaper account said, some ordered boys, others girls, some preferred light babies, others dark, and the orders were filled out properly. Siblings were often separated because families only wanted one child. Legal adoption was often not required. Families were supposed to feed, clothe, and educate the child. Older boys were expected to work and were supposed to be paid. Many were not. Professor Linda McCaffrey wrote, many were used as strictly slave farm labor. Older boys worked fields, livestock, fencing, and repairs. Girls were often used for cooking, cleaning, laundry, and childcare. Many were treated more like labor than family. Young men often ran away looking for better treatment or wages. It is estimated they caused about 80% of placement changes. There were direct accounts of abuse, children beaten, children starved. Children made to sleep in barns. Children reminded constantly they were charity cases. Some were fed at the table, but never treated like family. Many were called train children, and that followed them for life. Some were renamed. Some lost contact with parents and siblings forever. Alice Ayler, a former writer, later said, I was one of the luckier ones because I know my heritage. They took away the identity of the younger writers by not allowing contact with the past. Families were supposed to be screened by ministers, judges, and local committees. Children were supposed to write letters back. Representatives were supposed to check on them. There were only a few agents trying to monitor thousands of placements across the country. Follow-up was often weak or non-existent. Some children disappeared into abusive homes and nobody came back. Brace's Children's Aid Society was Protestant. Catholic clergy accused it of placing Catholic children into Protestant homes to break immigrant Catholic families apart. Jewish families made similar complaints. Parents filed lawsuits trying to get children back. Some said they were misled into giving them up. One major case happened in Arizona in 1904. The New York Foundling Hospital sent 40 white children to be placed with Mexican Catholic families. A group of white men, described as just short of a lynch mob, forcibly took the children and placed them with Anglo families instead. The case reached the United States Supreme Court. Newspapers described it with headlines like, "Babies sold like sheep." That is how many people saw it. Children treated like property. For some children, orphan trains meant a better life. For others, it meant being handed to strangers and losing everything they knew. Years later, many former orphan train riders still did not know their real names. Some were renamed by the families that took them in. Some were told never to ask where they came from. Some were so young when they were placed that they only remembered pieces of their old life. A church bell, a street corner, a mother's voice, a brother's first name. For many, that was all they had. Some of the most famous orphan train riders became the public face of the system. John Green Brady was one of them. He was orphaned in New York, sent west through the Children's Aid Society, and placed with a family in Indiana. He later became a teacher, then a missionary, moved to Alaska, and in 1897 became governor of Alaska Territory. Andrew H. Burke was another. Born in Ireland, he lost both of his parents young, entered the orphan train system, and later became governor of North Dakota. These were the stories newspapers liked. A poor orphan becoming a governor made for a clean ending. Most stories did not end like that. Many former writers spent decades trying to find brothers and sisters they had been separated from as children. Some searched church records. Some wrote to old orphanages. Some followed rumors from people who barely remembered them. Some found family. Many did not. There were reunions later in life where former riders, now old men and women, met others who had been on the trains. Some finally learned what happened to parents they had not seen since childhood. Some discovered they had spent 50 years living only a few counties away from a brother or sister they thought was gone forever. Others left with nothing but more questions. There was also shame attached to being known as a train child. In many towns, people assumed orphan train children came from criminals, prostitutes, alcoholics, or bad blood. Some adults hid their past completely. They did not tell neighbors. They did not tell spouses. Sometimes they did not even tell their own children. Others only spoke about it when they were old. One former writer said she spent most of her life pretending she had simply come from family out west because telling the truth changed how people looked at her. By the early 1900s, the orphan train system was being questioned more openly. States started passing laws requiring stronger investigations before children could be placed. Michigan was one of the first. Other states followed. Western communities were also less willing to accept large numbers of children from eastern cities. Some believed cities like New York were simply shipping their problems west. Newspapers openly called orphan train children a source of trouble and corruption. At the same time, child welfare ideas were changing. More people began arguing that poverty alone should not be enough reason to remove a child from a family. Helping poor families stay together became more important than sending children away. The orphan train system slowly lost support. By 1929, it was over. Around 200,000 children had been relocated. Some found stability. Some found abuse, some found success. Some spent their lives trying to recover a parent, a sibling, or even their own birth name. For every famous success story like Brady or Burke, there were hundreds of people who never got answers. Thank you for watching Campfire History. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what piece of forgotten history we should cover next. Until next time, friends, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Your views matter.